Sue Fearless. In fact, we connected last year and we didn't have a chance to have her on the program, but we are so happy to have her on now. I always say that I believe God does things at the right time. So she's here with us. And who is Sue? Sue is the CEO, founder of Fearless Women, a women empowered organization. Fearless Women mission is to uplift, inspire, and empower women. Sue and her team have set out on a journey to bring together women and coach them on how to adapt to a positive mindset, heal from trauma, develop confidence, provide support and encouragement, provide resources and education, and assist with the job placement, in addition to helping them become fearless and powerful through motivational speaking, mindset coaching, health and wellness sessions, group and individual workshops, sisterhood gatherings, and personal professional development programs and retreats. We work hard to deliver our powerful message and help others succeed. We currently work with public schools, shelters, universities, and collaborate with other organizations all around the tri-state area, and we also provide monthly educational workshops to our members. As a single mother, a Latina raised by a single mom, and a survivor of domestic violence, Sue has endured mental, physical, emotional, financial, and all types of trauma you can imagine. Her children have brought her strength, and because Sue has been able to pull herself out of depression, sadness, weakness, lack of confidence, love of self, and motivation, she has taken the responsibility in contributing to the healing of women who have been through abuse by providing services that will help women heal from trauma, develop a healthy life, a healthy positive mindset, take back control of their life, reclaim their power, improve health and wellness, work on personal, professional development, and achieve financial success. Sue has a background in finance and taxes and has worked at prestigious universities and organizations such as Columbia University and Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, and has grown successfully in her career in finance, management, and consulting services. Sue started her career in promoting and event planning, as well as collaborating with close friends in the industry for a multi-year long residency in LES. Since then, she has spearheaded, curated, and hosted some of the hottest events and some of the most sought out venues in New York City. And her event curating has become one of the most successful go-to event curating companies with an exceptional clientele. So without further ado, please welcome Miss Sue Phyllis.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome. So what we're going to do, how I normally start off the segment is I'll start off with a few questions just to get the flow going, and then people can jump in at any time. You can talk about whatever. We always say this is a very safe space. Although we're going live on Facebook, Crystal just put that in. The reason why we go live is just so questions can come in and we can ask you, what we're getting, the questions that we're getting from our live audience. So I'm going to start off, and guess what? I'm going to put on my readers, Sue. Over my. So the first question I would like to ask is, we can tell from your bio that you have been through a lot of challenges. Please explain to us the story behind the title and the overall theme of the book.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm Sue Fearless, and I founded Fearless Women. And because I went through so much trauma in my life, I figured out what my purpose was. And my purpose is definitely to help others come out of trauma, and also kind of gain back control over their life and become successful. I feel like trauma shouldn't hold you back. I feel like we shouldn't be embarrassed about the traumas that we've been through. It took me a long time to be able to feel comfortable to share my story of being a domestic violence survivor. So I mention all of that because it kind of translates into now me being a part of this book collaboration. Something I do want to say is anything you put out into the universe, it definitely comes back. And for a very long time, I have been thinking about writing my own book and sharing my story. So someone approached me with the opportunity to be a part of this book collaboration. So I'm one of, I believe, 20 authors on the book. And basically, it couldn't come at a better time. So the book, Still I Thrive, is a compilation of about 20 authors, different stories and perspectives, and how they were able to survive and thrive during COVID. For me, it has been a year full of many emotions because of the work I do with women. It has been very challenging and sad for me as well, because there was a period of time I couldn't even engage with the women in person. And for me, I feel like the best work that I do is the in-person work. Of course, we had to pivot and do things virtually, but definitely the in-person support and empowerment was very important for me. So I share a little bit about that in the book. And I also I share, different resources and things that you can do to be able to survive situations that are unexpected. So that's a little bit about what the book is about, and I'm really excited. It should be coming out next month. So definitely I will share a copy with you guys. So that's more or less what the book is about.
In fact, you actually, am I on? Sorry.
Yeah.
You actually answered my second question with that, because I was going to ask you around the timing and the premises for that. So I'll go into my next question. And like I said, ladies, you can jump in if you have a question, drop it in the chat. Crystal is watching the chat for me. Okay, so what was the most challenging piece of experience that you had while writing the book? And the reason why I asked that is because normally as you're doing something like that, accomplishing where you start to like your mind and memories and things come up. So talk about what was like the most challenging part of it as you were writing, but what you experienced that was most challenging for you.
Yeah, so I think, thinking back when I was in school and in college and everything, which by the way, I'm a Monroe alumni, yay. Monroe definitely attributed to a lot of my mindset shifting and a lot of my successes. So I'm very grateful to you guys. But, thinking back when I was in school, writing always was something that I was good at. But it was always a challenge trying to figure out how to put the emotion into words on paper. So I had, all of these ideas on what I was going to write about, and a chronological order and everything like that. I'm an earth sign, so I'm very like type A. So I have everything organized, but the most important thing for me was I want my readers to feel the emotion that I was feeling, to feel the words, to let it touch them in a way, because that is the purpose of the book, right? So it's for us to not only share ways that we were able to cope, but also share that we were all feeling something during this time, right? We were all feeling, whether it was loss, sadness, uncertainty, confusion, or even during the time I was thinking about the women that I was working with in the shelter, and thinking about like who, now that we're being mandated to stay at home, who was stuck at home, in a potentially abusive situation, and how not many services were coming out to the homes because of COVID safety and all of that. So I wanted to share a little bit about that, and I just wanted to make sure that you felt my feelings and how we all are getting through this together, and how we all can grieve together and get past it and come out stronger from the situation.
Okay, I like that. What is one of the most important things you would like the readers to kind of have as a takeaway from reading the book? So what would you like us to learn from it? Or what do you think we'll be able to learn from the book?
Yeah, I think that especially because so many of us came together for the book, I think that's a major takeaway is unity. I think that when we're going through things in our lives, whether it's personally or whether it's like a pandemic like this, I think we have to trust in our neighbors and trust that we are not alone going through this situation. We have people that we can talk to. Something that I reiterated so many times on my social media during this time was to check on your neighbors, check on your family, check on your friends. and check on your strong friends, right? On your strong family members also, because sometimes we tend to overlook those people in our lives who are very strong, right? And even the strong, you know, because I'm like that sometimes. Even the strongest people need someone to talk to at times, you know. So I think that is a major takeaway. It's just unity and just making sure that we are all getting through this together.
Right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask Sue as we're going through? Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
There's a question on Facebook from
Okay.
Justin Ramos. He's asking if you can speak about women who want help. I'm guessing this is in the domestic violence, what you spoke about earlier, but not the help being offered. Um, Justin is on Facebook watching.
Yeah, that's Professor Ramos.
Professor
He's such a
Ramos.
good supporter. He's been so
Yeah.
supportive. Yeah, did you hear the question, Sue?
Yeah, so can you repeat it really quickly actually?
Okay, so can you talk about women who want help but not the help being offered?
Okay, so women who want help but they can't find that type of help that they need and whatever's
That's a
being
good
offered.
question.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm assuming that it's centered around domestic violence. So you know, going through domestic violence is a really tough thing because it's kind of become a little bit of a norm in our society and in certain cultures, or they see it as some type of a norm, right? So I've heard stories where you know, officers are called into the home and they really don't do anything, or other times you know, the women are being blamed because they continue to stay in the situations you know, over and over and over again. And I think that we're not looking at these instances from in a deeper way. So I was one of those people who went back many times into my situation, although I knew it wasn't the right thing for me. But I think that what we need to realize is for most of us, this is something that's happening to us for the first time. So we don't really know how to process what's happening. We don't really know if it's something that we can work through. We don't know if this person has also been through trauma, and then maybe, you know, sometimes we feel like maybe we can help them and eventually they'll change, right? Or we have families, we have children, we can afford to raise our children by ourselves, or so we feel like we can. So these are, you know, some of the reasons amongst others that we continue to stay in these situations. But I do encourage everyone not to. I think as soon as we start seeing red flags, we should start working on leaving the situation because it's not good for you. You know, I feel like I was one of the lucky ones that got out of it. You know, I saw the light on the other side, but not many do. And those are some, you know, horrific stories that I hear about all the time. So definitely, if you see the red flags, and if you have any friends, family members, neighbors that you feel, you know, maybe going through something like that, respectfully, you know, make sure that you, without probing into their situation, make sure that you let them know that you're there for them, because it could be a really lonely place. Again, there's like a lot of embarrassment around it. And I'm going to answer your question. I know I'm speaking a lot about this, about the trauma, the domestic violence, but yeah, I mean, to find help, there's many resources out there, but I think most importantly, if you are able to find organizations like mine who have more of a personal one-to-one approach, and who really care about the healing portion of, you know, the women and the men who have been through domestic violence, I think that that's the best route to go, because, you know, we can help you create that exit plan. And we work with, you know, other colleges, we work with other organizations, I know that the mayor's office has founded a new space for domestic violence as well. I think about 4 or 5 years ago. So there are resources out there, but I definitely feel like you should look locally and connect with those organizations locally, and they'll be able to help you, put you in the right place. I know for women, it's very difficult sometimes, like I mentioned, if they have children, to be able to support their children on their own. And I do want to say that you can do it. So I know the shelter system is not the greatest, but there are shelters that are only for women and their children, which are very safe, which are very sanitary, and in which you get a lot of resources. And, you know, a lot of the personnel that works there really cares about you. And they bring in, you know, organizations like mine to speak to the women on, you know, just help them in ways to get their life back together. You know, we work with them with healing. We help them put their resume together. We help them with interviewing skills, with getting clothing allotment for the interviews, and we also help place them with job agencies so they can get a job and, you know, move out of the shelter, get their own apartment and things like that. So there is help out there. I've seen so many stories of women who have changed their lives after they've been through this. So yeah, to answer your questions, I would look locally, definitely, for some resources and help.
Yeah, I have a question that's not part of one of my questions that I wrote down. So when we have a friend, right, that is maybe going through something, how can we approach when they may not want to have you help them? However, you can see that they may be struggling and that they're going through something, but without prying or pushing and prying, because you don't want to send them in the other direction, right, where they're totally not speaking to you because of the fact that, like you said, they are embarrassed. What are some of the tips that you can give to us as women who may have a friend that's going through domestic violence? We know last year it was heightened a lot because of the pandemic.
Yes.
It was just like, you know, totally out. Domestic violence was totally out of control last year. But what are some of the tips that you can give to us if we see a friend struggling without us having to pry and prod, but still want to give that support? What tips can you offer us?
Right. So, you know, domestic violence, just like with any type of trauma that you're going through, we go through a point of denial, right? We go through a phase of denial, and where we don't even want to hear anything, you know, from anyone. You know, like I said, I went back many times, and it was because, you know, I felt like I was in love with this person. So I really didn't want to hear it. I didn't share much with my family about what was going on in my life. So, you know, and the rare times that I did, I definitely was faced with opposition, you know, from my friends and family. And, you know, they would tell me just to, you know, leave him and things like that. And, you know, that probably made me more confused and maybe angered me a little bit more, and also made me a little bit more embarrassed. You know, now I felt like I couldn't go anywhere with this person anymore because now certain people knew about what was going on. So, I definitely feel that most of the times having that verbal conversation with the person that's going through that is not the easiest thing, and you're definitely going to get a pushback. So I would try other ways. I would try maybe writing them a note, writing them a letter, something that they can keep, that they can read, which sometimes that also could be a little challenging because you don't want the person that's causing the abuse to find that letter also. But I think that that's a way to be able to express yourself where you're not being judgmental, or it's not coming across like you're being judgmental. I think just, you know, if you do have a conversation, just having it come out of a loving way, you know, like, I care about you, you're not in this alone, you know, if you need anything from me, I'm here for you. You know, these are really, you know, these are really bad signs, you know, this can happen. Or, I mean, I think just sharing it in a loving way, as opposed to just saying, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, get out of the situation. This is not good for you. You know, I think just coming from a more, you know, like a more human place, a more place of love, I think is a way to also, you know, also express that.
Right. Okay. Thank you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please share with us a little bit more about the some of the projects that you're working on, number one, and also the official, did you say when the book is going to officially be launched? Is it
Yes, so we're waiting on the date, but I believe it's towards the end of June. Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So definitely we can, once the copies come out, we'll try to see if we can get a few people to purchase them, or we'll offer them up. Right. So if you could tell us a little bit about some of the other projects that you're working on and how else you are helping women within the community to be their best self.
Yes. So like I mentioned, during this COVID time, it was very challenging because I definitely like to be a more in person type of mentor coach. Throughout this time, we did hold some workshops virtually, which were great. But again, I didn't get the emotion that I wanted to get virtually. So we did take a little break during this time, and we just, worked on what the next steps are. So right now I have Still I Thrive, the book coming out next month. I'm also working on a mompreneur book that's coming out in the fall. So that's going to be fun. And that's going to be talking about moms and entrepreneurship and how challenging that can be. So that's exciting. We are launching our entrepreneurship program. It's a 4-week program where we help you start your business from the very beginning to getting it incorporated, or if it's a nonprofit, getting it to be a 501c3, and then just giving you the education and training that you need in all the other areas that attribute to starting your own business, which is like branding, networking, public speaking, marketing, all of the important things that all of the important skills that you need to know about when you're starting your own business. So that's really exciting. And I'm collaborating with another women's organization on that. So I'll be sharing some of those details very soon. And then we are working on a retreat. So hopefully we will have that retreat soon. Once everything gets really better with COVID, we can stay together. And I'm really excited about that because I for certain know that I need it myself. I think that although we were home during COVID, I feel like it was probably the busiest time I've ever been through, from the Zooms and just the additional amount of work that we had on our plate. And then, as a mom, also being home with my kids, 24 hours a day, it was a very busy time. So I know that for myself, I really need the retreat because I would love to just disconnect, leave my phone at the door and just, center myself and clear my mind, do some meditation and also, have that sisterhood space where you can share, anything that you're feeling, any struggles that you've been having and things like that. So I'm definitely excited about the retreat. And right now those are the projects that I'm working on. We do have a garment line that's coming out soon too, but that's like a little bit of surprise. I'll share more information about that down the line, but it's definitely geared towards body positivity and of course empowerment of women.
Right, great. In fact, Roxana has a question or statement. Roxana, do you want to?
Yes. So when I'm just sorry to go back into the previous
Oh, that's okay.
section, right? And we were discussing about how can we help that friend. I personally was able to help a friend. I was able to gather some resources, and I was able to slip it to her.
Yeah.
So there's times, and as I was listening to Sue, you go through these phases, and at the time that they're going through this phase of need, if they have the resources, it makes it much easier for them to be able to accept it. Yes. So us as a friend, if we know that this is a constant concern with our friends, then basically, we do the same thing with the veterans. We provide them with we empower them with the tools necessary. So when they need it, it's available to them. They already know, they already have it. So I think as friends, that might be an option for us to be able to gather that information. So when one of our friends need it, we could just be able to slip it to them because it's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And that was my statement. And then the second, Sue, I'm not sure if if you recommend a location, or maybe your organization does, if we want to donate suits or jewelry, I kind of overheard some of the assistance you give, or I'm not sure if you were mentioning of assistance that could be provided. I'm not sure if your organization does that, but if so, if you could let us know where we, because I mean, in the past year, most of us did not actually go to work. So we might be recycling some items, and it might be a good time now to kind of put the word out and say, hey, we're looking for this, so they could actually donate it. So if that's the case, if you could give us a heads up on that, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing your thoughts. Yes, we are actually working on a clothing drive. So definitely you can reach out directly to my organization. I can pop in my email in a little bit, and you can just shoot me an email. We can organize the pickup. We're definitely holding a clothing drive specifically for that, to provide women with the clothing they need for interviewing, so they can start to get out there, because the job market is opening up again. So we've been getting a lot of job opportunities and things like that. So we definitely want to share that with the women we work with, and make sure that they're prepared and they have the proper attire to go to the interview. So absolutely, we would be so grateful for that. Yes, thank you.
And that's definitely a game changer. Thank you for that, Roxana, because I remember I worked a few years ago on volunteering for Dress for Success, and I would go downtown. In fact, the location was not too far from Park Avenue where I was working. I used to work on one park, but on Saturdays, I would spend a couple of hours with the women. And when they put on those suits and they come out of the dressing room and they look at themselves in the mirror, they literally start to cry. Yeah. Because it's probably for the first time in a long time that they felt beautiful. Yes. And we would do the whole accessorizing, and then, go through like interviewing skills with them. But it's just the look. And I would sometimes get emotional myself, because sometimes these women are so broken, for lack of a better word. And just to look at themselves in the mirror and see almost like it's like this swan. They look back at themselves and they see this beautiful person looking back. It's a game changer. It's such a great game changer. So Roxana, thank you so much for that. And Sue, I would be interested in that too, because I do have a lot of clothes that I was basically donating here and there. So I can definitely, a person that works from home now, I can definitely donate some of my clothes. And this is what I love about Coffee and Conversation. I'll always continue to say this forum. I mean, Crystal can tell, Catherine Barreto knows that this forum has really changed a lot of people's lives. It's changed a lot of people's views. Just us coming together once a month and what we've been able to do in the past year and a half. This is it, the information sharing, getting to know each other, putting things out there, helping each other to grow. This is just a beautiful thing. And every month, I just feel so much more passionate about this. Every single month, it just gets more and more where my heart gets filled with this program and what it has really done. So thank you so much, Sue. Thank you, Roxana. Does anybody else have any other questions because right now we can just free form, we can talk.
I just wanted to add
in the chat.
Anne-Marie.
Yes.
Just wanted to add, a lot of times when we hear the term abuse, it's normally associated with only women. I know, Sue, you mentioned you assist men and women. Like I can speak for the Latino culture, I'm Latina, and it's such a beyond a taboo. It's not even not acknowledged. And I was just like literally just went on my phone just to get some stats, because it's all about how we relate those numbers, because I could say, oh yes, men are abused as well, but if we don't put it into reference as to how much, the CDC reports that 18.2 of males have experienced psychological abuse in the past 12 months, and 47.3 of males have experienced psychological aggression at one point during their lifetime. Ultimately, the rates at which males and females experience psychological abuse is astronomical. So it's just, and also even because I remember, riding the trains, there used to be like hotlines
on the train as advertisement was always with a picture with a woman. You never saw or heard anything, even in the radio, because I listened also to Spanish radio. It was always about supporting women in abuse, never a man, because always you have to be macho, you can't cry, you can't show emotion, and that's it. So
Right.
I think it has to be more acknowledged in mainstream in order for men to be vocal
That's
regarding
so
that.
true. That's so true.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And although my organization is more geared towards women, only because I can understand it from a female perspective, but we do work with other male organizations, and they support us tremendously, and they also bring their their stories of trauma, of domestic violence, even like childhood abuse and things like that they've been through. So I completely agree with you 100%. And also I agree with you, unfortunately, that in our Latino culture, it definitely is something that's not seen as that, is more like something that's accepted. And it's what it's supposed to be, right? The woman's supposed to stay at home and take care of the children and deal with everything else. And, the man wears the pants and things like that. Unfortunately, that is something that goes on in our culture. And in a lot of Caribbean cultures, there's a lot of women, Caribbean women that I speak to, and, they come to me with tears in their eyes. And they're like, in my country, this is what's happening right now. And, so yeah, but, both points, I agree with you. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. We do need to make it, more of a not just one gender type of trauma, but definitely both genders.
Right. And I think, thank you for that, Sue, because to be honest with you, it's not just Latino, it is the whole Caribbean culture. Yeah. And a lot of times with Caribbeans, as some of us can attest to, is like you always are supposed to just toughen up, put on that brave face, like, you don't discuss those things, or, what's wrong with you? You can't take a little bit of, somebody talking to your heart, because it's not always just physical abuse, right? It's also emotional and mental. And I think sometimes it's expected that if somebody talks to you a certain way, toughen up, there's nothing wrong with what the person said, just like put on that tough skin and it's okay. When really it's not okay, because it's not just about the physical, it's mental. You can also be mentally abused, because that's when a person is breaking you down, right? Mentally, the things they say to you, putting you down, putting you in a box. Not, if you're trying to shine and get a degree and they're basically like not supporting that. That's also part of mental and emotional abuse also. Or you want to elevate yourself within your career and they just want you to stay where you are. That's a form of abuse also. So it's not just the physical part of it, although definitely physical is more important than anything else, but the emotional and mental abuse to me too is just as important.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I can definitely relate to that 100%. So the reason why I always mentioned that Monroe was like, a university that really impacted my life is because while I was in Monroe is when I was going through the very bad time in my abusive relationship. And, I remember wanting to elevate myself, wanting to get my degree, wanting to do better. But then, this person was putting so many obstacles in my life and causing so much trauma. And it's almost like, they felt a little bit inferior to me because I was trying to get better. I had 2 small children. I wanted better for them. But that person couldn't see it that way, So yeah, absolutely. It's not just physical, also verbal. Is very bad, because they start making you feel like you're not worth anything,
like you're
not worth anything outside of the relationship, right? Like, who are you? I made you type of situation, and also financial. So a lot of times, women stay because of that, right? I mentioned that before. And it's also because the person that's abusing you starts withholding finances, and they do that as a way to control you. So there are definitely many, many different types of domestic violence. So these are all red flags that we should, pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Catherine.
Yes.
Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah. But I do want to say also, you can change your life, right? Do not allow these traumas that we go through define who you are. because it is not who you are. Like, you know, through this, I was still able to graduate from Monroe College and get my bachelor's degree. I was still able to go into another university and get my master's degree, you know. So don't allow these situations that happen in your life stop you from feeling like you can accomplish anything, because you truly can. Whether you're single, whether you have children, you truly can. You can accomplish this. And if you don't have a lot of family here, lean on the people you do have. You know, we're having this conversation right now with Monroe College, right? So that means that Monroe College is definitely empathetic towards these situations, right? So if anything, if they can help you, I'm pretty sure they can point you in the right direction. I remember I held a talk at another college last year, and they actually developed a whole program around domestic violence. And I remember the officers talking to me about a particular instance where they were helping a young lady change her whole entire class schedule so that this person wouldn't know the time that she goes into the college and things like that anymore, and wouldn't, you know, stalk her, because that happens as well. So you can change your life. You know, I'm very grateful. Of course, I didn't want to go through all those things to be here where I am, but I did, and I'm accepting of it now, and I'm very grateful, because I found my purpose. I found what it is that I'm passionate about, what it is that I want to do with my life. I want to help others. You know, and it's just been a great thing. It's grown so much from just having like an idea and a concept. You know, in my bio, you mentioned that I was doing event curating. I was. So that was, at that time, I wasn't comfortable with sharing my story. So that was a way for me to interact with others and you know, create a positive space, create a fun space. That was my way of exerting that energy from me, because I still wasn't, you know, I was still going through the process of healing, right? So once I started doing that and I stepped into the entrepreneurship world, that's when so many women started approaching me and started sharing their stories with me and asking me, you know, how did you do it? How did you transition? And all of these things. And that's when something clicked, and it went from event curating to having, you know, Fearless Women, a whole organization that now, you know, creates a sisterhood with women. So I just, you know, if anything, I want to leave that with you all today, is that, you know, we cannot allow our past trauma, our past challenges to dictate who we are. We dictate who we are. We can change our narrative, and we just need to find our voice, and, you know, and we can be happy and successful.
Right. And you said something very important too, is the sisterhood. I feel that, and some people see like with my posts, that I talk about my circle. And even like last year, you know, granted, I'm a positive person, I have a lot going on, but then you still go through certain things in your life, right? And I have two friends that I've known them for over 30 years, that they would call me every day last year when I was going through some stuff every day. And they're just like, in fact, it's strange because we've known each other for that long. And to me, the relationship has grown stronger. Sometimes you have those relationships, and after years and years, you know, things start to pull apart. But we have such a great foundation that our friendship has grown stronger. So, you know, having a great circle. So even with women that are going through something, it's really important to surround themselves with people that can embrace them, whatever that embrace will be. Even I have to say, you know, shout out to Crystal too, because Crystal is like half my age, but I can still reach out to her. Sometimes she levels me out when I'm going through certain things, when I'm ready to like, and she'll just be like, Anne-Marie. So you have to have that circle where that foundation, or the people that are so close to you that they could just wrap their arms around you. And when I say wrap their arms, it doesn't have to be a physical, but it could be just a call, just to make you laugh, just to let you know that, you know, I love you, no matter what, I'm here for you, I love you. And there will be times when women and men, because like Catherine checked us that yes, men go for, when women and men are going through certain things, right, that they don't feel they have somebody, even if they're living in a house with someone, right, they may still feel alone, right? So sometimes the people that are embracing them, giving them that hug, that circle, is maybe outside of the home, right? So it could be a phone call, it could be, you know, just dropping off something to you just to make you know, it could be a card, it could be like you said, writing something down just to say, hey, I'm thinking of you. You know, it could be a text. There's some mornings where I would just get a text from my girlfriends, and it puts a smile on my face just from that text. You're just like, I'm thinking about you, you know, or
Yeah.
you know, I thought about this and this reminded me of you, and then it would just start making me laugh because of that. So I feel it's important to surround yourself with that circle who's gonna just always, no matter what, lift you up. But also check you too, because I'm really
Yes.
good at checking people too, because I will check a person in a second on that mess. Crystal knows that too, right, Crystal? I'll be like, what? The person, whatever, I will check that person in a second. So that's where the love comes from, right? That you can do both things. But I think having that sisterhood, like you were saying, Sue, is so, so important. Sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever it may be, you know?
Yeah,
Whatever it may be.
absolutely. I think sometimes, I know I do this a lot. Sometimes I don't want to share too much, right? Because I don't want to feel like I'm a burden or like I'm complaining or, I just don't want to damper, somebody's day. So I definitely agree with you. I think that we shouldn't think that way. I think that this is why these people are in our lives, so that we can, just share whatever, we need to share. And they're here as our support system, and there's a lot of power in release and transparency. Like once you release something that's bothering you inside, you feel so much better. You feel so much more free. Once you're able to be transparent and live in your truth and be who you are, there's so much power in that. The more we hold things in, the more it's going to affect us, the more healing we're going to have to do eventually. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think having your tribe is super important. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Eve, I think, has something to say. Eve?
Yes, hi, thank you. No, I just wanted to say that, as Sue was mentioning, when she was at Monroe, when I went back to Monroe, I was going through a relationship that was abusive as well, but I didn't identify with that and I didn't recognize it. So I think the first step is to recognize that you're in that situation, because I was getting verbally abused and it was mental and emotional, not so much physical, even though that sometimes occurred, but I didn't view it as being abusive, until much later. So I think when I arrived in Monroe, that's when my self-esteem was very low at that time and my self-confidence. But I think now I'm trying to grow out of that. And now I'm no longer in that relationship. But I think that really brought me down because I didn't feel like I could, really voice my opinions, voice my thoughts, voice my feelings, because I was always shut down by this individual. And then in subsequent relationships, it's been like that as well, and prior ones too. So I think now maybe is when I'm trying to come full circle with that, but I had to recognize that maybe that was what was happening. But at the time I was in it, I really didn't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. When you
Yeah,
finish,
no.
I have something from
Oh, no,
Facebook.
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, Sue, and then I'll just ask the question.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that we need to, start looking within ourselves, right? We need to start looking deep within ourselves and look at our daily lives and think, what is bringing me happiness, and what is bringing me towards my goal, and what is not, right? I think once we start looking at things that way, we'll realize what in our lives is not good for us, is toxic for us, is not meant for us, is not in alignment with the direction that we want to go in life, with what our purpose is. I think once we start doing that, we can start to see a little more clearly the things that we have to remove from our life, the things that people, whatever it is that's causing you to that's putting a roadblock in your life, and it's not allowing you to fully focus and concentrate on what you really want to. And I know that's easier said than done. But I think that, journaling is good, because I think that if you go back, let's say you're journaling for a month or two, and if you go back and you read it and you start seeing that there's patterns there, that'll be a way to realize that, there's something in your life that you're in that is not good for you, right? So and then I also wanted to share that being in college, and being in college is a really great experience, and I try to tell that to my children every day, to fully enjoy it once they're there. Because at Monroe, I, just like she was mentioning that, she was going through that while she was at Monroe. When I was there, I met three of one of the greatest friendships that I have, and they're still in my life, you know. And at that time, when I met them, I leaned on them because of everything that I was going through, you know. So I think that I didn't share what I was going through, but I definitely felt that they would be someone who, you know, who can give me that same type of love and energy that I was missing from my relationship. You know, they did provide that for me. So I think, you know, just I know it's easier said than done, but I think just be open to receiving positivity. You know, even though there's a area in your life that's not the greatest, that's very negative, still be open to receiving positivity and try to fill yourself up more with that than anything else.
Right. So Professor Ramos, who is on Facebook, said, hold on, let me go back. He said, we were talking about red flags, right? So he said, can we find green flags? When will people know that the help is working? I like that. I like that. When will a person know that the help is working?
I mean, I guess it depends on what capacity he's asking, but thank you. Yeah, that definitely is a great question. I mean, I don't think there's any measure because everyone's situation is different, everyone's process is different. But I think that most importantly than getting resources on, you know, finding out where to move and you know, finding a job to sustain yourself and things like that, I think more importantly is the healing process. Because what I've also noticed is that there have been people in the past who have kind of who it's become a cycle for them. So even though they get out of one situation, one domestic violence situation, they get into another, you know, and another, and it just becomes a pattern. And I think it's because the healing is not done. So I think where you can see progress is when you start the healing process. And how quick that looks like, that's very different for everyone. But the healing process is definitely very important, to be able to talk to someone about what you've been through and how what you've been through has made you react to certain things, and what are your triggers, and you know, how can you just, you know, heal from what you've been through and kind of move on and not feel like the world is against you, and you know, and not feel like whatever happened to you, you deserved it. Because that's also a feeling that I had as well at times, whereas that I felt like, was it my fault? Is it something that I did to cause this, you know? So I think the healing process is probably where you will see the most significant change. And then everything else, of course, comes with it, right? Because also, if you're not well mentally, you won't be able to sustain a job. You won't be able to sustain an apartment. You won't be able to take care of your family and your children. You won't be able to interact with others well, right? So that's the first most important thing. And then, you know, after that, of course, again, like the resources, it is very difficult because we do have a homelessness crisis here in New York City. But again, there are shelters that are, you know, if it's a female that's going through this, there are shelters that are just for women that are safe, that are available to you. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I believe it did. I have a question, and this may be personal, so if you choose not to answer that, you know, that's fine, I will respect that. But I think people may want to know, what was your determining factor when you decided enough was enough and you decided to leave?
So that's a heavy one. I'll answer it. So to be completely transparent with you all, for me, the moment was when there was a weapon pulled to my head. That was my moment. You know, at that moment, I felt like, God, if this is it for me, then fine. If this is not, then I'm gonna do something about this. And yeah, so that was a turning point for me. You know, I was like, well, I have 2 children that I need to live for. You know, my children are gonna lose their mother, and their father will be in prison. Right. So what's it gonna be for them? So that was a turning point for me. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Sue. That's very important. That's very, very important. Well, I have one last question. And then again, you know, we can just open it up if people on Facebook want to but I think you answered one or two, which was great. But after we met you today, we're meeting you today. And, again, I want to say, so thank you so much. And like I said, I believe in divine timing. So this was the right time for you to come on and be with us is today. But after us meeting you today, what are the 3 things that you want us to remember about you? Or if you want to say the 3 things you want us to remember about you, or the 3 things that we can take away from meeting with you and spending this time with you today?
Yeah. Let's see. So the things that I want you to remember about me is resiliency. I would say resiliency, because I was able to overcome uh the situation that I was in, the trauma that I was in, the dark spaces that I was in, the depression that I went through. I definitely recommend therapy for everyone. I still haven't gotten therapy, but I feel like at some point I definitely am, because I know there's still some things that I need to release. So definitely resiliency. Like love and positivity are definitely super important for me. I think that how we treat others is very important, because it reflects on how we would like to be treated. So I definitely lead with that on a daily basis. And I would say like focus and discipline is super important, because that's something that I'm constantly working on. How to stay disciplined is super important. I think that it's a great personality trait and character trait to have. And lastly, let's see, just empowerment. Be fearless. Like don't allow fear to hold you back. Definitely embrace it, because fear is real to a certain degree, right? But when you feel fear is more because this is something that's making you step out of your comfort zone, right? So it's really not fear, it's just something that you're not comfortable with. So I think embrace the fear and be fearless, and do things that you want to do that you would have never thought you would have done. I'll share a little quick story with you guys. So I'm naturally like an introvert, and I've always been very shy. So I used to be really, really nervous and scared and anxiety to speak in public, even to speak in small groups. And when I started my journey, and I started to share my story, there was a podcast station that approached me and offered me to have my own podcast. And at the time I was like, oh, no, I cannot do it. No way. And they literally gave me like a 2-day turnaround time for a decision. And I went to my tribe and I spoke to one of my good girlfriends at the time, who was actually transitioning into becoming a female DJ. And I had the conversation with her, and the way that she expressed her joy, I was like, okay, I think we can do this. So we started doing it together, and it has been life changing. Like it literally has transformed my life so much, because I've become way more comfortable in speaking. I've become more confident and in relating my story and just communicating more effectively, sharing my message more effectively. So definitely, if anything I leave you with this is step into your fear, be fearless.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. In fact, again, when we're talking about our tribe, one of my girlfriends, one of them that I have known for the 30 years, she just actually came on the Facebook Live, and this is why I love them, very supportive, yes. Always there. Okay, so Sue, this has really been wonderful. We thank you so much for, your time, your dedication, everything. Looking at you right now, I just see a confident, beautiful woman, empowered to be anything and everything that she wants to be. We really appreciate having you. Like I said, divine timing. Definitely would like to do some things with you in the future. So we'll definitely stay connected on that we can just maybe, do a project together or something. I wanted to talk about our event for next month. I am going, because I have 3 people that's on the committee, the little committee that I put together for our June event. One of you ladies, let's just talk a little bit about what's coming up. I'm excited for next month. So either Tanika, Crystal, or Eve, I'm putting you on the spot. This is your time to shine. Please tell people what's going on for next month. And please, let's just give Sue a round of applause because this was great. We thank you also for just being so open with us, so open. We appreciate, because I learned a lot. I'm sure we've all learned a lot today. So we thank you so much, and we're looking forward to having you back over the next few months. Yeah.
It was an honor. Thank you so much.
We may have you actually on campus, because as of next month, we're going to be doing a hybrid where we'll be alternating. So one of you ladies, Tanika, Crystal, Eve, I'm giving you the spotlight. So go ahead and talk about what's happening. Don't give all the details, because we want to, make sure we leave a little bit for people to make sure that they show up and they tune in for next month. But talk about next month's segment.
Okay, well, next month's segment is going to be surrounding Pride. It's a Pride event. June is Pride Month, so we'll be discussing like gender inequality, transgender issues, gay, bisexual, all of the components that are going on today in regards to the social injustices that surround that community, and going into details about that with different guest speakers. And they all have something to bring to the table in terms of their own experiences as transgender, as bi, as lesbian. Yeah. So it's going to be about that, about Pride. So it'll be in person and virtual as well.
Yes. We're excited about
without giving too many details, I guess.
No. And just say it's going to be at the New Rochelle campus. So we're looking forward to that. Campus. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Crystal, Tanika, you want to add anything about, just what we've been doing about planning and how our meetings have been so great, because they're like half an hour, we're on, we talk, we discuss, and we're off. Tanika, you want to say anything?
Yes. First, thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, Eve. Thank you, Crystal. Sorry. It was a great experience to be able to plan and work for you guys. I'm really excited for next month, and we're going to come together and celebrate Pride with the LGBTQ community. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Crystal, do you want to add anything?
Just looking forward to be outside.
I know you are, Mama.
I'm looking forward. I love to decorate and fix up the space. That's what I'm looking forward mostly about. Yeah, and of course it's aligned with the Coffee and Conversation mission, to learn, to grow, connect with each other in different ways. We're always looking for different topics and different areas where we can learn about, and learn how to uplift our community, our Monroe College community, and by extension, the Bronx community, the New Rochelle community, wherever people need help, we are there to give that inspiration, give that help, and connect people to the right resource that they need. So I'm excited, and thank you, Sue. I'm very inspired by your story, and every time I hear stories like people talking about them being shy, I'm like, okay, I'm shy, so one day probably I will be like that, to say, oh, I'm not shy anymore. So thank you for sharing your story, and thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, everybody, for joining today.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And I'll pop in really quickly. I shared my information, my website and things like that in the chat, but I'll say it out loud for those who are on Facebook. If you guys want to reach out to our organization, you can email me at sue@fearless-women with an EWOMEN.com. And also the website is fearless-women.com. So definitely reach out to us if you have any questions, if we can help you in any way. So thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. It's really been a great time. So ladies, guess what? We're ending early today so everybody can go and enjoy their time. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in person. Thank God. In June. I'm so happy. I think Mrs. Jerome is more happy than everything to be outside and to have a live event. However, it's going to be a hybrid, so it will be part virtual, because 2 of our guest speakers are from out of town, so they'll still be virtual. We'll be going live, obviously, on Facebook, because our Facebook community is growing, which is a plus, it's a positive. And the thing about this program now is that now it's been strange, because people are reaching out to me now saying, oh, can I be on the Coffee and Conversation event? That's a blessing. totally feel blessed by this and what's happening. And now I have to say to people, well, I can't schedule you for this month because we're already booked, so I can't do this month. So we're gonna probably have to just move you to like September. So that's a blessing. And it's been, what is it, Crystal, a year and a half, and just verging on a year and a half anniversary of the program. So we're growing and we're reaching outside. It's like Crystal said, it's not just Monroe based now, it's outside where people are just kind of like, I want to be involved, or what can I do? And I'm doing a Sunday segment where I have other people. That last month I had a therapist on. In January, I had a nurse from Mount Sinai when everybody was talking about the vaccine. And she came on just to talk about, you know, the ins and outs about that. So it's really kind of like growing outside of our community, Monroe community, but it's still servicing the community on a whole, you know, topics that we come up with, the brainstorming ideas that I go back and forth with the guest speakers when I vet them. So we are definitely, we're moving, we're growing. This foundation is just really, the foundation has been set. So now we're just building, right? Now we're just building. But I want to thank everyone for the continued love, the continued support. Our Facebook family, we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have been awesome, and you're showing us how much, you know, you enjoy coming on and just being participating. Thank God for modern technology because of this. But as I was saying, although we're going to be outside in June, our last event may be July and August. We'll take a break for 1 month and then we'll come back. We try to take August off, but because of circumstances this year, we may be taking off September instead of August, and then we'll come back. And by then it will be, you know, maybe 1 month on the campus and 1 month virtual. So we're going to be doing a hybrid of that. So thank you guys. Any more questions? Anybody else wants to ask Sue anything?
Let's
have
take
any
a
parting
picture,
words?
even though a
Sue?
few persons fell off.
Oh yeah.
Let's-
Let me get my
Catherine, have
axe,
our
go get my hold on, let me get my mug.
and we'll definitely
I am
send
ready
you
with my
a
mug.
coffee and convo mug, Sue. You're
We're
a
gonna have
part
to
of the
send you one.
tribe.
Please do.
You are a part of the tribe now. Anne-Marie's getting her mug, and
Yes.
take a little
Let
picture.
me tell you, I had people now
If you
saying, "Can I
have
get one of the-
anything
can I
that
get a mug?" And I'm like, what? Have you been participating? Can I get a mug? So
yeah.
Sue, we're gonna definitely send you one of these so you can email your address and I'll drop
Yeah.
one in for you.
Will
Yes.
do. Will do. Thank you.
All right, so let's
Oh wait, I have to take off the.
Oh,
right,
so
so
Eve
Eve is
comes on
here.
to take the picture.
Of
Look at her.
course.
You little sneaky video.
Picture.
He comes
Alright,
on to
well-
take the picture.
Okay. Okay, let me save that one and take another one just in case. Smile. Okay, I think I got some good shots.
Right, so,
Thank you.
Please
so
share
any
those.
parting words?
I will.
Yes, we will. Any parting words from anybody? Is everybody good?
I'll say something. I think this is such a wonderful platform. Thank you guys. Yes, thank you,
Thank
ladies,
you.
for doing this. This is really, really great. It's amazing to
Thank you.
highlight, you know, everyone that's doing great things in our community. It's super important.
Mhm.
So thank you again.
Right, and especially our alums. I'm so much about, you know, showcasing and highlighting our alums. It's just been great, and it's a lot is coming out of it. I think about Catherine, who started her own business. She came on, you know, talking about how we can save. She's been doing couponing for years, and now she turned it into a business. People are just coming on, and we're showcasing, and they're growing. And we may have a little surprise for our August thing. Crystal put a bug in my ear about something, so that, you know, I have to kind of do surprises. Not everything can I share with you, but Crystal talked about something. So we have something planned, and that should be nice for probably our August timeframe. So look out for that. All right. All right, guys,
So,
that is,
enjoy the
wrap.
weather outside, everybody.
Have a safe one. Stay safe, guys. Stay safe, stay safe, stay safe.
Yes.
We are coming to the end of this craziness, but if you're not vaccinated, I'm vaccinated, but if you're not, you know, it's a personal choice, but still
Mhm.
do what you need to do to remain safe, okay? All right, thank you, guys. Stay well, stay blessed. Take care. Thank you, Crystal, for
Bye-bye.
everything.
Thank you,
Take
Anne
care.
Marie. Thank
Bye,
you,
ladies.
Catherine. Thank you, Sue. Thank you,
Enjoy to
Tanika.
see you and
Thank
Eve
you,
in a
Eve.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.